Greetings and welcome to the 8th review in our What's Smoking Hot 2020 video review series. If you're familiar with Rudyard Kipling's poem The Betrothed, it's a famous poem about Kipling writing to his fiancée about his passion for cigars. And I think in the fifth verse it says, there's peace in the Larranaga, there's calm in a Henry Clay. I think if Kipling was to write this same poem today, he'd say there's caramel in a poor Larranaga or a Larranaga, and don't worry that much about the Henry Clay. Caramel is that one distinct characteristic, that sweetness, the sort of burnt sugar taste in poor Larranaga. And let me tell you, that's been around for a time. I mean, my research on this cigar today, I noted that caramel was mentioned in my literature from around the turn of the century in the 1990s and before. So it's been there for a while. The brand itself was founded by Ignatios Larranaga and Julian Rivera in 1834. So apparently it's the oldest brand that's still around making Cuban cigars to this day. And what's significant about Puro Larranaga from a historical point of view is that in the 1920s, due to labour disputes and worker shortages, the Puro Larranaga factory basically imported machinery to make machine-made cigars, and look, that caused quite a bit of dissension amongst the other manufacturers, and that was the machinery was pulled out for a time. But the brand was basically one of the first to have different standards of cigars. So you had the premium cigars and you had the lower quality machine-made cigars. And look, you wouldn't blame them. They were made at a quarter of the cost to what a hand roller could make them. But it carried on that tradition thereafter of a marker having a distinction in quality amongst its cigars, which continues to this day amongst Cuban cigar brands. This is a 2019 PLPC for short. That's how we abbreviate it. So they've been spanking really, really well for me, and that's why it's in this series. But we'll talk more about what to expect out of a Puro Larranaga Petit Corona. But on the cold draw, it is a little bit woody. So I'm interested to see how that's going to light up from the first few puffs. I'll light it up and I'll come back and we'll discuss the first third. So I've gone ahead and lit that up, and very, very pleased with this cigar. It has got notes of caramel, which is interesting for its youth to have those notes of caramel, and herbal flavours. So a bit of mix of that, not quite wood. It has that really soft caramel towards baking spice flavour in the first third already, and that spiciness is not giving it a bite that you would expect in Puro Larranaga Petit Corona at this age. It's not really overly woody, and it's not, it doesn't have a core of toasted tobacco, which these are known for. Discuss those things further as I smoke through the cigar. So what happened to Puro Larranaga? 1834, as I said, it's the oldest brand. At the time of the revolution, 1960, it was the sixth biggest brand. Certainly not the sixth biggest brand today. You may think Banos SA going into partnership with Altitas in the early 2000s, rationalising sizes, had something to do with it. No, that's not what happened to Paul Larranaga. What happened to Paul Larranaga is that going back to the 20s when they were the first brand to make machine-made cigars, or first major brand, their catalogue ended up being quite a number of machine-made cigars and handmade cigars. In fact, of the 20 deleted Vitolas in the Paul Larranaga line since 1960, 11 of them are machine-made and 9 of them are handmade. What happened was that the parameters or the guidelines for machine-made Habanos changed over that time, and their packaging. So a number of Paul Larranaga cigars that were machine-made were also wrapped in cellophane. And in Europe, the rules for putting cigars, packaging them in cellophane, changed in the 90s, and that's why I guess for handmade cigars, and that's why cigars with that were handmade, cellophane packaging phased out. Machine-made cigars still had, I think, cellophane for a while. Other parts of like Eastern Europe and Soviet Union. But when Altitas Altitas went into partnership with Habanos SA in the early 2000s, what happened is those machine-made cigars, frankly, were phased out and were not categorized as Habanos cigars anymore, and that is why the brand changed to what it is today. There's only 4 Vitolas in the market today, and 3 of them that are there were basically machine-made cigars. So the Petit Corona, which I'm smoking today, the Monte Carlos, and the Panatellas. So the Panatellas, interesting story about that. That's slated for discontinuation, but if you go on Cuban Cigar website, not officially discontinued on Cuban Cigar website, and there's still listings of it around. But despite being a short filler cigar and a small 36 ring gauge by 127mm cigar, it's a nice cigar for what it is, and you get caramel out of that too, believe it or not. If you ever see that box around and you're willing to put up with the short filler and the little bits of tobacco when you're smoking it, I would recommend that you consider it. The Picadorus is a recent addition from 2014. Both Habana Specialist release and LCDH, but it's not marked like that on the packaging. And that's a Hermosos number 4 size, and the Monte Carlos is special, and I've done a review on my YouTube channel on the Monte Carlos. Probably one of the last long and skinnies left. It used to be 35 ring gauge, but now it's 33, and it's a little bit over 6 inches. And of course, the Paul Larranaga Petit Corona, which is a Marevis 42 ring gauge by 129mm cigar. Just great dimensions. Just a touch over 5 inches. I love the fact that it's 42 ring gauge. And for me, smoking through the first third, they've just been so approachable. That is what I really love about them. This 2019 box code has been outstanding for me. I've never known, I guess it's a strong statement, but I've known Paul Larranaga Petit Coronas to have this much caramel and be this developed so young. The other thing that I wanted to mention was the packaging. What's unique about the packaging is that it comes in 50 cab. Once upon a time, Pularanga, not just Pularanga Petit Coronas, but a number of cigars were packaged in 50 cabs. And in fact, if you go on Cuban Cigar website, I think you'll find other Pularanga cigars that were packaged in 50 cabs. Today, I think there's only 6 that are packaged in 50 cabs. The Partagas Shorts, Partagas Lusitanas, Hoy de Monterey Double Corona, Hoy de Monterey Epicure number 2, the Ramon Awanas Specially Selected, and Pularanga Petit Coronas. Although apparently there could be one more, the Punch Double Coronas, that was slated for discontinuation in 2017, but it has been cited after that date, so we're not 100% sure on that. So let's call it 6 or 7. Not many left in 50 cab packaging. But what's unique about the PLPC is that it's only available in 50 cab packaging. All those other cigars I mentioned are also available in different packaging. So is that advantage or disadvantage? I would say it's an advantage and a disadvantage, if you could just bear with me why I say that. It's an advantage because of the nature of the cigar. The nature of the cigar is, in my view, not a beginner cigar. If you want someone to look at a cigar of this size, point them towards the Monte Cristo number 4. That's what I would do, rather than the Pularanga Petit Corona, because it's a type of cigar that traditionally requires quite a bit of rest to get it to peak, to get those wonderful caramel and baking spice and softer flavours coming out of it. When they're young, they're known for having quite a bit of bite. As I said, having toasted tobacco, wood. They can have honey sweetness at any point in their development. This hasn't got too much honey sweetness in it at the moment, but it can be quite spicy. So definitely, and herbal. Not type of cigar for a beginner. So the advantage of them coming in 50 cabs, of being in 50 cabs, is that it sort of forces the enthusiast to sort of say, okay, look, I might like them a bit younger. I might go through, half a box of it and leave the other half to rest, and then maybe look at another box. You might not be inclined to do that if it's just a 25 dress box. The disadvantage of it is that other cigars, such as the St. Louis Ray Double Corona, which was discontinued in 2013, also only came in a 50 cab, and you concern yourself as someone who, me personally, I'm speaking about now, someone who follows these things quite closely. What concerns me is 50 cabs have been rationalised, so there's not many of them left, and I'd hate, and also whatever size cigars, there's only 6 of them around, which the PLPC is one, or 6 premium ones. So in my mind, when I think premium cigar, in the Madera size, I'm thinking Bolivar Petit Corona, Cuba Siglo 2, the Monte Cristo number 4, the Pularanga Petit Corona. So that's 4. Rafael Gonzalez Petit Corona, that's 5, and I may be missing one. It'll come to me. But before the Sancho Panza Non Plus was discontinued, that was 1 too. So it could be only 5. Not many left. There are a lot of other cigars of these dimensions, but to me they're not of the same quality premium class as those that I mentioned. I'd hate to see this cigar. I'm grateful that it's still around, but and part of me would like it to be available in 50 cabs and 25. To be honest with you, if you want to age it for long term, get a 50 cab. If you just want to smoke them now, get a 25 dress box. Why not? Anyway, look, that's just smoking wonderfully, wonderful ash. I'm loving this. I'm going to leave it there and come into the middle third and discuss it further. So we're well into the middle third, and it's just smoking very, very well. Obviously, at this point, it's really picked up in those herbal flavours. Uh, it's still got a touch of caramel and baking spice there that's really keeping things interesting. I'm really liking. Um, but going back to developing a Larranaga Petit Corona, the traditional thinking is 5 to 8 years to get it to be at the caramel that one would desire. And in their first 1 or 2 years, they've got quite a bit of bite to them. They can be quite spicy and more toasty. But this is uh, definitely not as soft, but it's like, to me, even though it's 1 year old, it's more like 3 to 4 mark, which is quite amazing. It's making really well. I did mention earlier in the review that, in my opinion, there were only 5 premium Madeva cigars left, and I had a look while I was smoking down to the third, and it was those 5. There are other um, uh, Madera-sized cigars in the About Sensei catalogue, but I wouldn't consider them as premium as those 5 that I mentioned. So, I mean, you may consider the Bolivar as number 2, or the Monte uh, uh, Petit Tubos, uh, or just the recent retro editions, the Romeo and Juliet Club Kings, or the Partagas Capitals. To your liking, that's fair enough. But for me, those 5 are the ones that are the premium class in this size, and I would hate for them to not be around. I'm very grateful that we still have this size around for those 5 cigars. Uh, I think I'm going to I'll leave it there. Look, again, thanks for your time. And look, I had a lot to say in this review. I hope you kept up with me. I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, happy smoking.